Feels good. Feels good. Let's see. Man, that the only bad thing about that intro is it's too short.
Too short.
We need
Now
a
we have
60 second. Yeah, exactly. Oh man. How you
Right.
doing,
Happy
brother?
Friday, everybody. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Uh a lot of beautiful things are happening right now. A lot of beautiful things are happening.
To everyone, are you getting this from other friends and stuff? I feel like everybody is going through similar things right now that
Yes.
are well resident. Hey, there's Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
It worked. There's so many platforms that everybody's on now. It's hard to keep them all aligned. But anyways,
Yeah.
I'm new to Haps, and I'm happy to be here.
You're happy.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming. We're happy to have you, and
We're
glad
happy
you were
to
able
have
to
you.
figure it out. I know you did this last minute, and now Lucas is going to try to figure out how to merge you into the three-way screen here.
Yes. Let's see.
In
There
the
we go.
meantime, guys, make sure that you join the Facebook group and the Awakened Soul. Tell your friends if they're open-minded, they feel kind of alone, they're looking for a group of like-minded people who want to expand. Bring them in. Make sure you get your free offer. It's in the Facebook group. We sent the link, and you're welcome. And if you want to work with Lucas and I privately or take a course, you just send us a message privately and we can talk about that stuff. But without further ado, our special guest today, Nicole, please pronounce your last name for us. I wanted to ask you before we started.
It's Nogrady.
Nogrady. Nicole Nogrady, everyone.
Kind of like O'Grady, and I just realized I have my coat of arms here. It says
Nice.
Nogrady on it.
Love that.
Awesome. And what's that tattoo?
Pardon?
What's that tattoo? Is that truth?
It's this one says truth, and this one says trust in yourself.
Love those. Beautiful.
They're my gangster markings.
You're repping that truth game. I like that, Nicole. I like that. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking time to be with us today. First of all,
thank you for asking me.
Yeah, absolutely. Share with us your story. How did you're hosting the Purple Pill, or you're the host of the Purple Pill, which is a beautiful concept, but
Purple pilled, right?
Purple Pill.
Yes. I basically actually have my first official shoot at a studio up in Los Angeles today. I lived in LA for 15 years, worked in Hollywood, saw the truth of what Hollywood really was, and totally switched gears, moved out of LA, and so I'm kind of tiptoeing back into media with a different perspective. So I'm shooting my first official episode today up there, and I'm excited, and it's called Purple Pilled because red and blue make what color when you mix them together?
Beautiful. That's
purple.
Right. Purple.
I didn't know if you wanted me to answer or not.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was rhetorical, but I loved it. I love it. What was your what was the first cracking in that veneer for you 15 years ago that you started to see, oh, this is what I thought it was, or they projected?
I was working on a show called the Sarah Silverman Program. Sarah Silverman is a pretty well-known comedian, actress, and she had her own TV show around 2006 to I think like 2009, and I was her stand-in for 2 seasons on her show. And I'll never forget the day I got on set, and I got my little script that day, and we were opening the day doing a scene that was mocking 9/11. And I was so pissed about it. I was so disturbed. I was like, so many people died that day. This isn't funny. And I remember marching off the set when I was done doing the lighting and the setup. And I said something to one of the crew members, just, one of the lighting technicians. And I was venting to him, and he felt the same way I did. And he had asked me if I'd ever seen a documentary called Loose Change, which is the big 9/11 conspiracy documentary that came out, I think, around 2006, 2007. And I watched that, and it was like, It was, I feel like when your soul is being told truth and your pineal is open enough to accept truth and you're ready for it, you will know on a soul level that you are hearing something that's real and that's truthful. And it was like I was so drawn into it and I couldn't get enough of it that it really, watching that documentary sparked my hunger for conspiracies and
Yeah.
conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And because I was working in entertainment and I was working on set, it's kind of strange. And I know that, Aaron, I know you totally relate. And we talked about this yesterday, where once you learn the inner workings of film and television, it's hard to sit down and watch a movie or a TV show with the same pair of eyes where you're totally submerged in the story and not be sitting there picking apart like the lighting and the script and the continuity. Like, okay, that didn't match that. They messed that up. You know, you're thinking about it that way. And so my sort of release at the end of the day was to go on YouTube and, you know, look up UFOs and conspiracy theories. So that was really the beginning of my journey, was around 2007. You know, I was like a baby in Hollywood. And so it was strange waking up while working in the belly of a beast at the exact same time. And in a way, it kind of protected me from getting too deep into Hollywood, because I, like I said, on an instinctive level, kind of knew that it wasn't what I thought it was.
Right. And you knew in your gut when it was time to leave a party, or if, oh, maybe that I shouldn't be going to that audition because it doesn't sit right. By the way, as you're talking the past 2 minutes, I've had the chills. It just, and it's funny because you say when your pineal's open and you are come across truth, your body knows it. Like, you just know innately in your soul. And then that creates those chills. Like, our body will talk to us. We have the yes or no within. So as you're saying this, I'm like, yes, she is speaking the truth right now, you know?
I like to call it the innate. And I got that word from a channeler named Cryon, which, if you're watching this,
Cryon's great.
Cryon, he talks about the innate. And he doesn't actually give you a definition for the innate. It's kind of like when you just hear the word, it's like, I don't know, to me, it just made sense. It's just like your inner knowing and the body mind reaction. So your physiology is actually reacting, like physically getting goosebumps. So people pay attention to those little physical things, which kind of led me into like where the next part of my journey went. Was when I got so sick of Hollywood, I was like, I'm going to take a hard left, and I went to massage school. So that was an interesting turn to take, but it was an amazing one.
Right, Quilla, because you started to, once you start to, I had the same thing. Like, I had 1,000 different jobs. But now as I sit here, I look back and go, oh, they were all puzzle pieces, every single one. Because you started to learn about the body, I'm guessing, in massage school, and understood that we are not separated from here and here. This is all connected. I mean, that was a big thing for me to learn, is that if I was going to heal my body with my mind, I had to understand that my mind was connected to my body.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Right?
Yep. There's a great book by a gentleman named Ken Deichwald called Body Mind. And it's the exact science between the body and the mind being a single integrated unit. And I actually named my massage company Body Mind after that. But I know we're kind of like jumping around here. If you wanted to talk more about Hollywood, that's always fun.
No, we're very casual with this. And again, I love that you said there's no definition for it. And I was going to say, thank God. We have too many definitions and it confuses everyone. So, but if you feel it, that's all that matters. And I think that's where we're heading. There's so many telepathic instances and synchronicities that we don't need to explain everything. We don't need closure in everything with the English definitions of certain words. You feel it. You know, there's this emotional guidance system. Your heart is your GPS. Just kind of, if you understand what innate means to you and you can't explain it, that's a beautiful thing. If you can't explain something, that means it's coming from somewhere where you don't need to explain it. But if you know it and it works for you, I might have a different word, but we can go, I know what you mean. You know, the inner knowing. infinite intelligence, God, source, whatever, innate. It's all the same. Say that again.
Oh, like your sixth sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but that's just a movie about some kid who sees dead people, right? No, it's not just a movie. It's your most important sense that you have.
Right.
And it's funny. I want to make a T-shirt. I shouldn't even say it out loud, but I have a T-shirt being made that says "Intuition over Science," because everybody, like especially now, everybody's going. It might have the quotes "science" because there is science out there that we're not being told, which I'm sure you understand. But intuition over this science that we're being told, because they're saying, don't listen to your intuition, trust the experts, stay inside, do this, do that, do the other thing. And it's like, you know, nobody said Simon Says. We're playing God Says, and nobody said God Says.
Yeah, and like when COVID, I put it in quotes.
Yeah, I don't even
COVID
say the word.
started, I know I'm like, are we allowed to say that word here?
I say C19 because I don't like to speak that word into existence. That's what the news does.
Well, I remember telling my family right when everything was shutting down, locking down, and I actually called my mom a couple weeks before lockdown happened because I'm a conspiracy theorist and I've already been following things that are happening kind of in the background. And I knew that this crazy lockdown thing was coming. And I called my mom and I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell you why, but I'm going to have to basically move home for a while. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to have to bring my pets and you're just going to have to be okay with that. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? And then.
Uh-oh.
Whoopsie.
Oh, there she is.
2 weeks later, she's calling me and she's like, get your ass here now. and I'm like, I told you. But of course, like the first month or so we were cautious, but I just kept telling her, I was like, Mom, it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. It's not what we're being told. It's not what we're being told. And I worked my butt off to red pill my mother during this time. And finally, one morning, I wake up and she comes into the room where I was staying and she had on an American flag tank top, but it was the Betsy Ross American flag. And she comes in my room and we've been arguing about this for months. She finally comes in and she goes, I watched Out of the Shadows.
Oh,
wow. Good for her.
Beautiful.
Good for her. Good.
Can we have your mom on the show? I said, can we have your mom as a guest on the show? That's amazing. She comes in an American flag T-shirt, says, I just watched Out of the Shadows.
It was hilarious. And I was like, yes, finally. So one by one, my whole family has been like, you know, awakened or red pilled. And I was actually thinking about this earlier. We need to stop using woke now because the left has now hijacked the term woke. They're the most unawake humans ever, sadly. But I was like, truth. We have to call it awake again.
That's yeah. I've never used woke. It never vibrated with me, you know. And it's just another inverted truth. They take something pure and good and love, and they invert it. And Lucas talks a lot about how love, how it's been kind of dragged through the mud. So we think love is a certain thing because of what we're told. The opposite is true, right?
Well, think what they're doing. They say woke as in a finite moment in time. But we are in the great awakening in present tense, in the now moment, in the infinite now. And so it's no different than religion taking the ETH off the end of a verb. Like runneth is the purest form of a verb. It never ends. But we say run and we perceive beginning and end because I can't run forever. Can you run forever? No, but the word runneth is beyond our human plane. So it continues beyond the now moment. It's infinite. It's infinite now. And so the Great Awakening is infinite now. But those that are woke, I ask people all the time, was your shower last year sufficient for your body today? No. No one would be around you if you just found your bathing one day a year ago and you think that's okay. Was your meal last month good enough for you to sustain your body now? No. So your information that you perceive as truth, that one time you got a little nugget and you woke up. That's not the awakening. The awakening is truth beyond all measure, wherever we find it, and being insatiable for truth, because it's the only thing that will make us free. And at the end of the day, where we are not free, there is a lack of truth. And where there is a lack of truth, we're not free. And we can either look at one or the other, but I love what you have branded on yourself, because that is so important. Truth. That's it.
It's kind of bled into itself now, but I was messing around the other day and I had a Sharpie and I was like, man, my tattoo is really starting to bleed and it's kind of changing it. It almost looks like a J now, but I stuck a Sharpie and I made it into an F, added an A and an I, and I made it into face.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, after all is said and done, after we reach critical mass with the Great Awakening and all truths have been revealed, because I like to say, what is it? Only three things can be hidden for so long: the sun, the moon, and the truth. I was like, I'm going to change it to faith, because it's my faith in things that are unseen that will get me through these hard times and through the Great Awakening and everybody finding truth. And it's going to be really ugly for some people. Like for those who have not watched Out of Shadows yet, I highly recommend it. And it is, I would say, like what, a PG-13 version of kind of what is going on.
Fall of the Cabal. It's the PG version of Fall of the Cabal.
Sadly, it's like the G version of what's out there.
Yes.
But yes.
However, it's a gateway.
Consumption. Yes. It's such a, and God bless Liz and all the team that put that together, because what I admire more than anything in this world is courage. I don't care how many people in your mob that you have with you and you can all bark like dogs and try to intimidate someone that stands in their own power, looks someone in the eye and utters their own truth. That is a hero. And Liz Crokin is a hero. Facebook.
Agreed.
Yeah. You hear that?
A hero. And what that woman has had to endure for speaking the truth, she has stored up treasure beyond our wildest imaginations in the fifth dimension. I mean, she's probably going to just be kicking back like, all right, all is well, because she's amazing. But we all get, I don't even know where I'm going.
Well, it's a beautiful thing that, because now people have, it's such a gift, because 15 years ago we had to seek out individual rabbit holes and put all the pieces together.
Yeah.
Now people have a beautiful 2-hour documentary, 3-hour documentary. It's put together so well that you could just watch, like, take a break from Netflix for one night and just watch Out of Shadows. And I think that's why she's getting a bunch of stuff for it, and getting booted, because they're allowing all these big goal line conspiracies. They know nobody's ever going to believe that off the jump, right? You have to progressively get there to understand why this is happening. But she puts it in a way that's very relatable. And you're like, oh, I could see that this is going on. That's more dangerous than saying, oh, this is going on over here. And they're like, nah, people will never believe that,
Right.
I think it was really well done. And I forget the gentleman's name who was the stunt coordinator, who explained his journey with he hurt his back, and it was in that physical ailment that he had that he sort of like went through his awakening that I thought was really fascinating. And I just wish there was more people out there that could, like we were talking about the body mind, could see their physical pain as an outward manifestation of your body trying to communicate with you. Like a what?
Communication. Your body's communicating with you.
Yes.
And
exactly.
When you feel it enough, that's what I went through. Same thing, And at some point, it's not going to get better with the traditional way that it's being treated. It'll only get worse. So when you feel the pain and you are done dealing with it, you will lean into your spiritual awakening. It's inevitable at this point.
Lawrence from Spiritual Oneness just posted.
Oh, I know. I saw that this morning. I saw that.
No accidents. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Nicole, it sounds like you have, I want to hear about your life growing up, because you mentioned faith and you mentioned the unseen, you've mentioned truth. So I love that you come with a worldview that has allowed you the freedom to explore. So talk to us and explain like your life growing up.
I was an only child of an only child of an only child, or am. And
wait, you're an only child of an only child?
So I'm an only child, or I thought I was.
Oh, come on now. All right. Here we go. Let's go.
You had one of those truth bombs. I had one of those.
My mom is an only child, and my grandmother was an only child. And so we kind of had that trend going in our family. And my parents got divorced when I was very young, about 2 years old. And I'll never really know exactly the truth there, but I found my father on Facebook when I was 30. Wow. Alive.
Wow.
My mother also thought he had passed away as well. It was pretty much just a phone call she had received. And now that I've been in communication with him, you know, there's conflicting stories. Who really knows? I'll never know the truth, but I sit in that and I accept it for what it is. And it's all made me who I am today. So it is what it is. But my mother and I have always been extremely close. She's always been very successful. I always went to the best like private schools. I went to a couple different like Presbyterian, Christian, Catholic school, public school. So I've had a very well-rounded education. You know, I didn't go to just one religious school and stay there. I kind of got a taste of a few different things, but the core thing has always been just God. There's always been God in my life. And I actually moved back from LA this last year to a place called Lake Forest. And I live literally like 3 minutes down the street from my preschool and the church that I went to as like a 2-year-old. And I mean, my first memories were there. So when I say I moved back home, like I really moved back home.
Wow.
But I just we always had God in our life. We didn't go to church all the time. You know, it was kind of like after a while it became sort of a holiday thing, but I always had a really strong connection with spirit. And I know that all children are very, well, I don't know about in today's world, but you know, children are known to be very connected with source and connected with the higher power and imaginative. And I think
they're coming in stronger, by the way, in today's world. I actually think they're coming in stronger with more protection. I think we're going to be blown away by the children who are coming in now.
And that's why they're trying to vaccinate them all, is because
exactly.
they're trying to stop that level, them reaching that level of consciousness. But speaking of vaccines, like I only had maybe like 6. I've never gotten a flu shot. Yep. I was always playing dress up and singing and performing. And I mean, anyone that knew me as a kid would tell you like, oh, it was just nonstop. And so it was kind of a natural progression that when I entered junior high school and then high school, I got into theater arts and drama classes and choir and and then eventually led me to moving to LA in my early 20s. And I also went to the Musicians Institute before I even lived in LA. I was commuting, which was terrible. But back to my childhood. So I grew up with this thought that my father passed away when I was, 3 or 4 or 5. And that was like my story. And only child of an only child of an only child. My father passed away. It's always just been like my mom and I. We're very close. That was my story. But there was an innate in me that always knew something was up. I couldn't ever explain it. I just, as a kid, would sit by my window at night when I couldn't sleep, and I would literally wish upon a star. Like, I wish I could meet my dad, I wish I could hug him just one time. And all these years later, through a strange series of events, I was with a close family friend, and she's like, well, have you ever Googled your dad? And I'm like, well, no, I guess I haven't, because I thought he was dead my whole life. So I put his name in, and sure enough, some information popped up. And then I hopped right on Facebook, typed his information in, and a profile popped up. And it was a photo of him, but it was like a side profile photo, and it just had his birth date on there. That was all I could see. And, Facebook has changed its platform a billion times.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I knew it was him, and I knew that all those feelings I felt my whole life, my intuition that was always screaming at me, was right.
Wow.
And it was almost like my auric field also almost like jumped out of my body, kind of like an out of body experience. I came back into my body, and I mean, I was like almost like a high, very strange. But right away, I sent him a message, and as I was typing it, he sent me back a relationship request as father on my Facebook page.
Wow.
And
Quick, huh?
I mean, at this point, I'm crying. I'm like, I knew it. I just knew it my whole life. I just knew something wasn't right. But it's not like I was searching my whole life for him or anything, It just was this intuitive, spiritual feeling that ended up manifesting when I was 30, that my father, in fact, was alive all this time. And so the moral of this story is that for me, my faith is so strong, and that is a prime example of trusting in myself and trusting feelings that I have. And that when people come to me and want to battle me about this whole like Q thing, and that nothing's happening behind the scenes, and Donald Trump walked away and it's the end of everything, I'm like, guys,
yeah,
I'm seeing what I'm seeing, and it's that same innate that I had about my father that I'm having about this whole election situation.
Well, Donald Trump's known to walk away quietly from stuff, isn't he?
Right.
Makes sense.
I know we're going off on different tangents here.
This is good. And to affirm you, first of all, that's an incredible story, and thank you for sharing, because people need to hear. I was telling Aaron the other day, when I used to run a Christian ministry, I've done a lot of things. I was TV producer for a live talk show. I've been a TV journalist on different markets, owned an ad agency, and I was a minister, ran my own ministry for a long time. But I would ask people, what's your but God? And everyone had exactly. It's a little marketing term. I came out with, what's the but God? I was this, but God. And you can say but intuition.
I get it. I get it.
It's just a play on words. What's your but God?
I was thinking of the physical anatomy for a second.
Is it one T or two T's?
That's right. Exactly right. No, but God, you thought one way, but what was that? Who led you to that? Your friend saying Google. And to affirm your intuition about this, which I 100% agree, and it is going to be a biblical awakening like no other.
It will be but I told you so.
But hello. Ghost Ezra said the other day, and I thought it was so beautifully put. I don't know if you follow him, and if anyone does, you will thank me later if you do on Telegram. But Ghost Ezra said, what we are about to enter will be a bigger awakening than Pentecost. It will be utterly mind-blowing. And what's fascinating about the book of Revelation, it starts with God wipes away our tears from our eyes. And people perceive that is in heaven. But why would God have to wipe away tears from our eyes when we first learn everything? It's because I think even the most truth-seeking humans, once everything gets revealed, it will humble all of us to come back to that place of just just come into this place of love and beauty and goodness, and all the anger and all the angst and all the division and all the opinions get washed away in truth and love, just like all the story of you and having no father gets immediately washed away. And you're like, what did it bring? Tears. We are going to have that amplified. Like,
it also brought a lot of confusion.
Certainly.
That's part of it, right? Because when you pull at that one thread, you find out everything we've been told has been inverted truth. Not everything, a lot of things have been inverted truth. The world is upside down, and people just, you don't question, why do we suffer like this? Like, why do we have to work so hard for others? Why do we have to feel depression? I think if you pull back and look at our country, for one, I mean, the whole world, but just look at our country and the progression. We were in a state of depression collectively. We were all depressed. That's the bottom of the scale.
Yep.
So at least we got to a place of anger the past 4 years. That's a step in the right direction, because there's some power in anger, right? So at least you go from a helpless point of depression to at least people are sharing their opinions regardless of who believes what. Doesn't matter. People are angry. We're getting out the anger, and then we just head towards frustration, and then we can get to a place of neutral, and then we can get right, because you're not going to go from depression to joy unless you've done the work. Right. So I think we're in a good place.
That reminds me of like the stages of grief.
Yeah.
Which I kind of feel like I went through with finding out about my father. And I mean, it all happened so fast, but it was like I said, it was like an out-of-body experience. I was like literally kind of like bumping into walls, and I'm asking people like, what's wrong with me? And I finally saw a psychologist, and she said that my brain chemistry had literally altered because of the shock, and that it would take a while for my brain chemistry to kind of come back into an equilibrium. And I just kind of look at like what's slowly happening, but what's like what I think is about to happen, this whole great awakening. And I think a lot of people are going to experience that same out-of-body experience, and the people are going to get red-pilled, like they're going to get the, what do they say, the suppository red pill.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I wanted to create Purple Pilled.
I think they call it an anal swab. I don't know.
But I wanted to create Purple Pilled as a place where I could merge together conversations between people from both sides of the coin, so that maybe there's a place for people to go during this transition where it's not, a conservative show or a liberal. It's just in the middle, and that's what we really need. We're going to need a lot of unity, and we're going to need a lot of unifiers. So hopefully I can achieve that. Fingers crossed.
You will. Yeah, it's because you've been guided here. You even by your story you're telling, like, we've all been guided to this place. I went through it too. It's painful. And I'm like, how did I end up here? I was doing this and everything's good. And why would I do this to myself? It's because it matters. It's because I care about humanity. It's because it doesn't matter who's throwing rocks in the beginning, because of their own, where they're at in their own moment. We're all at different stages of this. And you brought up the stages of grief, right? The Elizabeth Kubler-Ross book, which I think they actually added a 6th stage. But what we're doing is we're grieving our old life, right? And I went through this too, becoming a parent, because you're just a single young individual. Yeah, we were married and like we had that life together. But when you become a parent, it's not a bad thing, but it's a process we go through from grieving. That life will never, ever
be the death of a part of yourself.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. That old life has to die off. So the new, it's like the caterpillar into the butterfly, right? The caterpillar struggles and suffocates in that cocoon. And then it kind of meshes down. It's the same cellular makeup, right? The same cellular structure just kind of melts into itself and then reforms into this butterfly form. It's all the same cellular structure, right? But it has to die. It has to go. And we went through that. So, but then it suffocates in the cocoon, which is what forces it to get out for that fresh air. And what are we seeing today? Everyone is suffocating in a way, literally and figuratively. And they're going to start to wiggle out of that cocoon. They're going to realize they have wings and they can fly. And that's going to be such a beautiful day, because I know, and I felt that. I mean, I told my wife, I'm like, I can't explain it. I have superpowers. I know you think I'm crazy, but I feel like Spider-Man out here going, choo, choo, choo. I can't control my web. And it's like, that will happen in the beginning, because you do feel the power that we've always had within. And then you got to kind of hone it in, land the plane, calm into it. And then that power gets more focused. And that's when we can do good for the world.
I feel like that's what I'm going through personally right now. You just described it perfectly.
I think it's pretty consistent for everyone. I mean, I could use different metaphors. That's just the one that I came up with and I'm talking about in this moment, but it all resonates at the same frequency. It's all familiar. I mean, we meet and we can have a conversation like we've known each other our whole life. That's happening to me. I can't speak for you. More and more and more as I drop the lower vibration conversations and relationships out of my life. For now, I'll hold space over here, but I can't be around that low vibration. If you have those limiting beliefs still, you still have a process to go through, and I can't force you through it. I learned that the hard way too. But I'll hold space over here. But when I clear them out of my life, it creates space for people like Lucas Mack to join my life, Nicole Nogrady to join my life. Like, it creates space for a high vibration conversation. And then we start to feel it. And then we together can put that energy out, and I'll lead by example. So others know where to turn when they go through that state of confusion, because it's not fun to go through.
I was just saying that there's a reason, like when I went to massage school, I went to kind of like I'll say a woo-woo massage school where we had crystals in the corners of each classroom, and they were very energy based. And I loved it for that reason. It was extremely healing for me to get out of, I had just left the music industry. That's a whole other podcast we could spend like 3 hours.
Well, I think we're definitely going to have you back for another episode.
But I started really realizing and learning that human touch is like crucial, that we truly are one body, literally. And that, exchanging of energy, electromagnetic energy, and, I studied some Reiki. I do polarity therapy, and I look at what they're doing by 6 feet apart. Once people realize that this isn't about a virus, this is about trying to stop the Great Awakening and doing everything they can to do it. They're physically separating us to keep us from unifying within the unified field. Because when I'm doing a massage and I first put my hands on someone, within usually the first 5 minutes, I would say 9 times out of 10, I always get a comment of, from a new client, oh my gosh, your hands are so hot. They just, like turned on fire. And I know I'm a healer. I know that massage was one of the jobs I was supposed to do here. Always knew that. And I look at how touch deprived people are and how fearful people are of physically connecting. And that's why during this whole COVID situation, my family and I never stopped hanging out. We kept having wine and cheese parties at our house. I was still taking, a few massage clients, not too many, but keeping that human physical connection, non-sexual physical connection is so important. And something I noticed is that the family and friends that I have that aren't COVID fear, they are a lot more touchy-feely than like they used to be. A lot more hugging, and like, have you noticed that too? And it's just like the divide is getting even bigger. The people that I know that used to be so huggy and physical are And the people that are in this fear mode are just like dying.
Right. They're actually getting sicker because they're disconnecting from humanity. And what I started, again, we understand that everything they tell us is inverted truth. So when they said stay inside, I do the opposite. And my family has been thriving because of that. I say hug your neighbor. You want to heal? Hug your neighbor, love your neighbor. I let strangers play with my son. I mean, you get in there and it's love. Love is the strongest vibration on the planet and will heal anything. I believe whatever thing is going around is a very low vibrational spiritual virus that's a catalyst for the awakening. And you have to be in a low vibration to look. We'll get if I'm like, oh, I'm sneezing or got the sniffles. I'm like, my body's working through something. I'm not anti-mask. I'm pro immune system. I'm pro oxygen. I'm pro life. I'm pro living. So I won't do that to myself. But it's very interesting when you meet people like that. They're all finding the same thing. And why do they call it social distancing? It's not social distancing. It's physical distancing. So, but I don't know exactly why, but we see it's obviously calculated for a reason. And they want everybody to communicate from behind a screen. But why is it called social distancing? Nobody's social distancing, even though that's what they want. They don't want you guys talking about it. Figure some shit out,
I just wonder how long people are. I mean, the cabal knows that they are losing the narrative because they're losing control of people's attention. Because people's attention are now going to podcasts. People's attention are, going to not sitting down and watching TV. And working in TV, television programming, which we talked about yesterday, there's brain is literally being programmed. And this was what really freaked me out about working in film and TV was I learned from one of the documentaries I watched that when you see a child sitting in front of a TV screen, they always tend to sit really close and they sit there with their mouth open, watching. Mm-hmm. And it's because the child's brain is still so, I don't know, I'm starting to learn about neuroplasticity, but I guess the child's brain is still so new and forming that it causes that reaction. And the TV screen is actually flashing light, but it's flashing at such a high speed frequency that you can't visually see it with your eyes, kind of like when you use a dog whistle. We can't hear it, right? And when I learned about that is how they program a child's mind in its earliest years. And then I started looking at friends I have, at their kids, watching them do this. I was just like, oh my gosh, like it's just, when you start learning about these things and then you start going out into the world and then you start seeing them and it just solidifies that there is a lot conspiracy going on.
And it's painful in the beginning, right? I remember the first time I saw a child with a mask on, I completely lost my mind. Because again, like you, we understood more of the science before this all happened. So we could kind of see things before they unfolded as they were going to, right? Mm-hmm. We also understand how the body works. And, we have a natural exhaust system for a reason, right? But I got a lot of people attacked me because I was like, putting a mask on a kid is child abuse. And I just flat out said it. I pulled back because I'm like, listen, I had to get to a place where I know these souls come in, they know exactly what they're coming into, and I have to allow them their journey. But seeing that for the first time, it almost killed me. And I really had to make peace. And I go, listen, I'm a father. I have Tyler. That's my responsibility. I can't worry about other parents. When I see a child, I smile, I take a breath for that child, and I know that child is going to be okay. They knew exactly what world they were coming into and why, and they're going to change the parents, and it's just in due time, and that's okay. But I had a really hard time in the beginning because knowing all those things that we know. But again, there's a bigger plan, and my little fraction of God and the ego part of it can't comprehend the grandness of that plan. So why am I trying to control it? I can't step in between free will. We have to allow others, right? Because in doing that, I was causing myself pain and suffering. And then I can't serve the world if I'm in a low vibration.
My question is how many children have gotten COVID? I literally know of 0.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yep. Same.
Well, because they're not riddled with inflammation yet. Right?
Huh. Yeah. Yeah.
They're still pure. They still have, I mean, kids are resilient. They come out. I mean, Tyler had hernia surgery. And I thought we were going to have this long recovery. He took a nap in my arms, slept off the anesthesia, and then he was same energy, plowing around. Like we were being more careful than him. But these kids bounce back. So that's why they're fine. I mean, who knows? They might come in contact with it. Their body processes it out. And, one of the biggest scams too is removing the tonsils, because that is the filter that speaks to the body. Why do children put things in their mouth all the time? They're sampling their environment. And then it goes through the saliva, through the tonsils, it filters through, communicates with the gut, communicates with the immune system, says, what do I need to do here? And then the body purges whatever that toxin is, right?
Mm-hmm. I actually didn't even ever think about that. I always wondered, why do we get our tonsils removed? I never...
And a needle bypasses that. If I was ever to get an immunization, it would be the little pellets that go under the tongue and follow the natural process, right? I honestly don't even think I need to do that, so it's fine. But the needle bypasses that natural process. It goes right in here, and what is in that thing? I don't know. Look, we don't need to even go there, but what I do know is there's a reason why children put things in their mouth. It's the natural way of sampling the environment, allowing the tonsils in the body to do its job.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think go for it. No, go for it, sister.
I was just going to say, what's your connection, you two? How did you guys meet?
How did we meet? We met through Instagram.
Actually, Lucas was one of my nightly rabbit holes. When I was trying to reach, because there's some dark rabbit holes, and I like variety, because I like the same way you grew up. I grew up the same way. I've had a million different experiences, which is probably why we got here. Like for me, I was playing with the hashtag spirituality is the new street smart. Like I got here not because I went to Harvard. It's because I had the common sense street smarts where even though I was participating in stuff, I always kept this ear to the ground and was watching patterns and looking. I wanted to know everything. So I've gone down all the conspiracy theory rabbit holes and all. And that's what it was. One day I was looking at my map. I don't know if you have this map. You can't even buy it anymore. They shut his store.
Oh, yeah.
But I was looking at the map, and then I went, I wonder if there's any interviews on the guy who created that map. I'd love to hear him talk about how he came up with this beautiful one-page meme. And I found an interview between Champ and Lucas, and I was watching a couple episodes, and I was like, I actually like this guy Lucas too. I like the way he speaks. I feel like I'm like reaching to where he's at, because Lucas keeps that high vibration, love, everything is, and I was like, love was uncomfortable for me. I mean, this isn't about me, but my childhood growing up, it was really, I still have a hard time embracing love for a long period of time, because that frequency is so, and Jimmy was here talking about doing this stuff, and feels like you're holding onto an electric fence. If you come in contact with somebody like Jesus or the extraterrestrials who have this high vibration of love, it's intense. And if you're not growing up like that and you're trying to work your way over, it's a lot. There's a lot of, you got to, ease your way into it. Lucas was always having that. So I started watching his podcast a lot. And then I reached out to him one day because I was like, man, I feel like you're this religion Trojan horse. And I've been feeling like I'm this Hollywood Trojan horse. And I would love to just chat. Do you ever chat with people on Zoom just for no reason? And it turns out he saw the Peanut Butter Falcon, and he was like, brother, I love that movie. So cool. I actually watched it with my wife, and I was like, I didn't think that. because I stopped watching mainstream, all of it. I don't watch any of it because I'm down, I'm like digging for stuff that they're not showing us. So I just assumed, and we know what happens when you do that, that I was like, oh, you actually watched that movie? That's so cool. And he's like, yeah, of course. It was great. And then we talked and we Zoomed and we had a conversation. He was like, dude, this is awesome. Let's have you on the podcast. I was like, sure, anytime. He's like, how about tomorrow? And that's how it started. I mean, what does it look like from your perspective, Lucas?
Well, I mean, that for sure. You said, oh, I produced the Peanut Butter Falcon. I had just watched it like a couple nights before, and my buddy, and Aaron, you know him now, Thad, one of my closest friends, and he was a bass player in my band, and he has a sister with Downs. So that movie was incredible, even from that perspective of bringing someone with Downs to the screen. And anyway, I just found it a beautiful movie. I love Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, those like freedoms, the in the woods, freedom seeking stories of our childhood. So I thought that was like a modern day Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer story. And then we just connected, and it's just been a beautiful journey of, one thing that I appreciate about Aaron is he tells the truth. He is another person that loves truth, but is incredibly humble. It's not an or, but and incredibly humble. And there's a lot of the world. I mean, we've all come from this Hollywood world. We could all say everyone thinks they're cool. And I'll tell you, they're not cool. And people that think they're cool are not cool. The people that are cool are humble beings that love one another, that create space for each other. And that's just been beautiful. Like, and even you, sister, like coming on together and creating this space. And people are going to see this beyond today for many, many years to come. And they'll catch in on this conversation and hear a beautiful soul who thought her father was dead and awakened. She had this premonition, or Aaron talking about UFOs and Jesus in the same sentence and being like, whoa, what? These people feel comfortable enough. I'm not disparaging that.
Yeah.
Who feels comfortable enough and vulnerable and courageous enough to just speak like this? Very few today. And
I'm really glad.
Beautiful.
I'm so glad that we're finally here at this point, because I felt so alone. I mean, I was like, God, why did you have to wake me up to this crazy crap, to this crazy, what I now know is like the real reality? Why did you have to wake me up when I was 22? Like, my journey started.
It's too early. Hit the snooze button. I don't want to do this alone.
Yeah, and I would say the first time I really started awakening, I was like 19, 20, and it started with a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Actually, hold on a sec.
She'll be right back.
I'm sorry.
We could do our commercial. Hey, Truman, you should try this hot chocolate. This is the best hot chocolate. Sorry, go ahead.
I was 19. I had the urge to go to the mall I didn't know why or what I was going for, but I pulled into the parking lot, walked into the bookstore, walked right up to this book, walked right up to the shelf, walked right up to this book, picked it up, opened it up, read like one page, went to the front, bought it. Still didn't know what I was like on autopilot, like I was being divinely guided. And I went home, and it ended up at the bottom of my closet. And about 2 years later, I'd already moved up to Hollywood, and I was getting some stuff at mom's, and I go to open my closet, and this book falls down in the track of the closet door, and I'm like, this thing. So I took it with me, I read it, and it was truly like my first red pill, even though it's a blue book, but it's my first red pill. And that's when I started noticing the synchronicities, the coincidences. Then the documentaries came, and I was like almost mad that I was like, why do I feel like such a weirdo living? I felt like separate from society. You know, like I was
like you don't belong here a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, I would cry myself to sleep at night because I just was like, then I started learning about Illuminati and the cabal and, you know, basically where we're at now. And I mean, I felt like I was going to be the only one screaming from the rooftops, freaking out. You know, I was always the person on Facebook screaming about chemtrails. I mean, my friends that if they see this, they're gonna laugh when they see that because they own Nicole and chemtrails. Like it was a thing for a while. And I'm just so happy. It's like
we're here.
I'm like, I'm not alone anymore, you know, and other people are with me in this, and other people are even far more advanced in all this than I am for me to learn from. So I'm just like, now I feel like the caterpillar turning into the butterfly, where all the past 15 years of all of that is now coming to a head, and it's like it's go time for all of us.
Right. Yeah, because and we're not even at the awakening yet. We are still we're slowly in disclosure. We just happen to awaken because we need to build the net for what's coming so that people know they're not alone. But how ironic is it that you and I probably were crossing paths throughout, thinking that we're alone. You told me the story about you were at the 24-hour fitness behind the arc light. That was I lived there for 10 years. We probably crossed paths so many times thinking like, we're just getting ready. It's getting ready. And your story, by the way, do you know David Icke's story about how he went and got the book? He just like was divinely guided to this book. It's very similar to what he said. It's really cool.
Yeah. David Icke was one of my very early red pills. And I mean, David is like, he's the, I don't know what I would compare him to, but he's like kind of like the ultimate red
He's hard
pill.
to compare to. He's kind of in a league of his own in a way. And I know when I heard his story about going to the bookshelf, getting the book, I told my wife, I was like, oh my God, what happened to David Icke in 1990 is what happened to me in 2006. And it's funny, you said it started for you in 2007, and we were right in the same neighborhood, and you had that situation at the gym that you told me about.
We probably, you look familiar to me. Like when I had seen you for the first time, just, you know, a mutual friend of ours said, oh, you should follow this page. I saw your face and I'm like, I know who that is, but I never forget a face. So I'm pretty sure that we have crossed paths, and based on the nature of synchronicity, I would probably say confidently 100% we've probably crossed paths or been within each other's sphere.
Yes.
Sometime, somewhere, someplace.
So cool.
But we were all brought to Hollywood for a reason at that time. And I always say, I felt like a light in the dark. And I'll never forget this one day I was leaving downstage on Sarah Silverman program. I was always, as a stand-in, you have to be the first one there, one of the first ones there, and like the last to leave. And it's a very long day, but I was leaving with the last crew members that were there, and they have those big elephant doors, which are the giant doors to the stages. And they were getting ready to close the elephant doors, and they turned all the lights off. And I remember turning around and looking back at the stage, and it was all dark. And this thought popped into my head. I said to myself, there is no life there. There's no electricity running to the phones. They're, cut off old phones. The refrigerator has no real food in it. The photographs are stock photos. Everything is basically fake in this environment. And I thought, that's so crazy. Whatever energy we bring to that space is what gives it life. And then I thought to myself, interesting. There's two forms of creative energy. You can either create from the light or you can create from the dark. And I realized then that most of the sets that I'd been on, I was feeling a dark creative energy. I worked on a lot of CSI shows. I worked on a lot of, murder shows, things
Criminal
like that.
Minds, everybody knows. It's like,
exactly. And I could tell the difference when I was working on shows that did the different creative energies to it. But it was just one of those moments where I realized, like, wow, like there's something bigger going on here than just entertain me.
Well, what does the word entertain mean? And we can go into all that too. It's to hold your attention. Why are they holding your attention?
Mm-hmm. They don't want you to think for yourself.
That's right. That's right. Sis, thank you for taking time and being on today. It's a beautiful story and you're such a beautiful soul. And I'm excited to everyone make sure you watch, find, seek out Purple Pilled with the
Yes.
powerful and the one and only Nicole Nogrady.
Thank you so much, you guys. You guys
Cool.
are amazing.
Thank you for coming. We're going to have you back again because I know there's so many more stories, but we'll let you go. Go get ready for your day one debut. Have so much fun filming. Tell Doug we said hello and let us know where we can find it once it's up.
All right, I will do that. And I'm still working on getting at least my Instagram going, but Instagram at Purple Pilled, just like the way it sounds. Or people can find me at Real Nicole Nogrady. They deleted my other Instagram page, but we'll save that for next time. But thank you so much for asking me to be on your show. I'm flattered, and it's very motivating and inspiring to talk to you. And now I want to go watch Peanut Butter Falcon again.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yes.
Do it.
So,
that's good. Well, thank you, and thank you everyone for watching. And we will see you again next Friday.
Yay!
Bye, guys.
Thank